Hi everyone, welcome welcome back to my channel. I'm Em, and this is going to be my mid-year book tag, which I think I skipped last year because I went back and tried to look for it and I couldn't find it. So I think I put it off for too long and got burnt out watching everybody else's mid-year book tags, and so did not want to make my own because I figured if I was burnt out, other people were burnt out. So I'm gonna do it a little bit earlier than I want to because I'm just starting to see them pop up, and see if I can get ahead of the ball on this one. So I also haven't watched any yet, saving it until after I'm done doing this one, and then I'm gonna go and watch the ones that I've seen pop up on my subscription feed. So hi, welcome. Let's talk about how this year has gone so far. I think I would say off the top of my head that while this hasn't been my favorite year of reading, it hasn't been a bad year of reading either, but I definitely think I am once again really zeroing in on what I like in a book and what I don't like in a book. And you would think after so many years of reading that that would be locked in by now, but I feel like being a reader, your taste is constantly evolving and changing and adapting, which is something I really like about reading, but also kind of makes me sad because it means that books that would have been 5 stars are now not so much 5 stars. I think the other thing I realized as I was going through these questions and then looking at what I've read this year is that not a lot has really made an impact on me. Like even the books that I've given 5 stars, some of them, actually most of them, are logical 5 stars. Like this book is well crafted. It has good writing. It has good character development. Like if we're going over the craft of writing, this book hits all these points perfectly and is a 5-star book. And logically I can see that, and so I give it a 5 star. And then we have like the 5 stars of the heart, and I haven't given as many 5 stars of the heart this year. And even though I can remember that the ones I've given 5 stars were really great books and in the moment had a profound impact on me, it hasn't stayed, unfortunately. But with all that being said, let's dive into the first actual question instead of me just yapping about my books. I will also link the original creator and the original video down below just to give credit where credit is due. So the first question is the best book I've read so far this year. I have, of course, 2. They're tied. They're very different books. The first one is Blood Over Brighthaven by M.L. Wong. This is dark academia fantasy, and it's a standalone. And this is one that just had me in a chokehold, one of the few that I've read this year. And we're following this woman who is the very first woman in like 200 years to be admitted into this university. Women really aren't allowed to practice magic in this world because of the patriarchy and sexism. And she is being bullied by her male colleagues right off the bat. And as a prank, they assign her a janitor as her research assistant. But the janitor is, of course, more than he seems. This world has a lot of racism. There's this race of people that are looked down upon and treated as being slow and stupid and not great. And the janitor is from this race of people. And it was really good. And the ending was amazing and so sad, absolutely gutted me. But I think it's really, really good. Writing was beautiful. I didn't even care that it had long chapters. And then the other one is Don't Let the Forest In by C.G. Drews. And this is a YA horror. It's also kind of dark academia, which is funny because wouldn't say that dark academia is a aesthetic that I really enjoy, but here we are. It takes place at this boarding school, and it's about this boy who writes these stories, and then his best friend will do drawings based off those stories, and the monsters from those drawings come to life and start to kill people in the boarding school. And it is very angsty, very over the top in emotions and angst and all the things, but I really loved it. It really like plugged in to my like inner teenage reader, and I love it when YA does that. And I read this in a day. I was obsessed. I absolutely loved it, and I can't wait to read more from this author. And ironically enough, I don't own either of these books, so I do appreciate this tag because it points out which books I've read from the library that I haven't gotten my own copy of yet that I should probably like get a copy of. The next question is the best sequel I've read so far this year. I haven't done a very good job of reading sequels this year, so my answer is Go Luck Yourself by Sarah Rush. This is book 2, and I don't even know what the series is called, but the first one is The Night Before Christmas, and I just love this series. This is like a urban fantasy romance paranormal kind of, not really, situation. It's a romance between the Prince of Christmas and the Prince of St. Patrick's Day, and they are a silly goofy time but also have a lot of like political fantasy plot intrigue things going on. And I love book 1. I love book 2 even more. I think you definitely have to read them in order because while the romance does change between each book, the political plot stays the same, or is like not stays the same, but continues on into book 2, so you will be lost if you don't read them in order. But I just think these are so fun. They make me so happy. I love the romances. I just like kicking my feet the entire time, and I just love it. Love it, love it, love it. Next question is new releases you haven't read yet but you want to. I mean, I think there's going to be more, but I'm not really paying attention to new releases this year. Not on purpose, well, kind of on purpose, because I'm trying not to buy as many books. And so if I don't know about it, then I can't go buy it, so I haven't been paying attention. But the 2 that pop up to mind are Hemlock and Silver by T. Kingfisher. This is her next fairy tale retelling that's coming out this summer, and I think this is a Snow White retelling. I don't always love T. Kingfisher's fairy tale retellings, but I'm always optimistic. And then this one, I'm actually breaking my book buying ban that I've been on this month because this book comes out in 3 days for me in my present time. But by the time this video goes up, it will have been 3 days in the past. But it is Silverborn, as I think the title, but it's the new Jessica Townsend book 4 in the Morgan Crow series, and I'm so excited. We've been waiting an eternity for this book and for this series to continue, and I'm so excited it's finally coming out, and I can't wait to find out what happens to Morgan Crow next, because I believe the end of book 3 was the completion of that storyline, and we're going off on a new storyline, I think. I'm just so excited. Oh, but the Morgan Crow series is a middle grade series about a girl who goes to a magical school, and it's fantastic. It's wonderful. It's the best. You just have to wait a real long time in between books, but it's totally worth it. And then the next question is most anticipated releases for the second half of the year. I only have 1. I mean, I have 2 because hopefully, maybe we'll get a Electo the Ninth by Tamsin Muir. Probably not, but ever hopeful. But the actual answer is the second Amina Al-Sarafi, which supposedly is going to be coming out this fall/winter. This is by Shannon Chakraborty, and Amina Al-Sarafi book 1 was about a 40-year-old woman who is a mother and used to be a pirate and is basically coerced into getting the gang back together for one more adventure. And this one is supposed to continue. And I don't know what the plot is, but I remember maybe a year ago, Shannon Chakraborty was doing like a Q&A in her Instagram stories, and somebody asked about book 2 of Amina, and she said it was going to be a haunted house story, and she was going to like tiptoe into horror a little bit, and I'm so excited. I don't know if that's still the case, but that has just been in my mind ever since, and I cannot wait for this book. I love this series so much. I loved book 1. If you like a pirate adventure, get the gang all back together kind of story, it's so good. Biggest disappointment of the year was definitely The Honey Witch by Sydney J. Shields. This is cozy fantasy, it's sapphic. I thought I was going to love it, and it ended up being just kind of fine for me. It's set in a world that's very much mimicked off of Victorian England in terms of societal rules, but it's a more queer norm world, and our main character, I think her name is Marigold, she finds out that her family has magic, and she in fact has had magic, but her mother has tried to hide it from her. Very Halloween Town, now that I'm thinking about it. And she finds out from her grandmother that it's her family's duty to protect this island, and so she goes to live on this island to become their honey witch and protect them. The main reason I didn't like this is a big part of the plot is the romance, and Sydney J. Shields does the thing that I really hate in romance where the love interest is kind of a bully. It's not a bully romance, but maybe not even a bully, but they're not nice. Like, they're actively rude and mean to the person that they are going to be falling in love with, to a degree where it doesn't even matter to me what the reason is once you find out the reason. It's just too mean. They've been too mean. They've been too rude for virtually no reason. Like, they didn't get off on the wrong foot. It's not anything that the main character did. They're just mean. And I hate it. And it makes me not believe the romance at all. And I think I had other things about this book that I did enjoy, but that is the primary one that sticks out in my memory. I gave it like 2.5 stars, and I thought I was going to maybe give it a 5, and I was just so disappointed. On the flip side, my biggest surprise of the year is Sky Full of Elephants by Sibo Campbell. This is like a literary fiction, kind of dystopian. It's set in the future, and the premise is that one day all the white people in the United States just walk into the nearest body of water and keep walking. And so only people of color are left in the United States. And it's like, what does society look like if there are no white people? Like, what happens? How does, like, when you no longer have people to uphold white supremacy, what happens? And we're following a man who was an inmate and is now a professor at a university, and he gets a mysterious phone call from a daughter that he did not know existed, asking him for help. And so there's a little bit of a road trip. And I picked this up because I had seen a little bit of buzz about it. And then I read The Last White Man, which has a similar premise, but was so poorly done that I was like, I have to, like, this concept is so cool. You could do so much with it. I have to read a better version of it. And so I picked up Sky Full of Elephants, hoping it would be that better version, and it 100% was. Now, it wasn't a full 5-star because I didn't love the like sci-fi bent it took. I found the road trip part to be the most interesting, and the relationship between the main character and his daughter. And she was very annoying, but very annoying for really real reasons. So like I could get with it. So yeah, the first part was probably the strongest for me because I loved that dynamic. I loved the themes that Sibo Campbell was exploring and taking down. And then they kind of settled in one spot. And then the sci-fi-ish element got introduced. And then I didn't love it as much, but I think it's such an interesting idea to explore. Next question is your new favorite author. It's going to either be a debut author or an author that you haven't read from before. Again, I have 2. I'm so sorry. It is Sylvie Cathrall. I read A Letter to the Luminous Dead just last month, and it's a fantasy epistolary novel where this fantasy world is largely set underwater. You get the idea that it is our planet after climate change, and the sea level has risen to the extent where there's nothing really on land anymore. And there's a romance in this one, and it was just utterly lovely. I had such a good time with it. I'm really excited to read more from her. And then the other one is Elaine Yu Cho. I read, I can't remember exactly what it's called, Ocean's Godori. This is sci-fi. I believe this is Cho's debut. It's like a random crew on a spaceship taking whatever jobs they can to survive and get roped into a bigger plot to help save a thing. Kind of like, Firefly vibes. I loved this. So good. Love the main character. I loved the friendships, the found family aspect, and I'm so excited for book 2, which comes out later this summer, which I probably could have included in the new releases that you're still excited for list. So retroactively, I'm including this in that list. I don't really have an answer for the next 2 questions. The next 2 questions are your newest fictional crush and your newest favorite character. I don't really have one for either of them, sadly. So that's kind of a bummer, but I don't have an answer. So moving on to the book that made you cry, that is Blood Over Brighthaven. And it wasn't like a full sob. I'm kind of heartless. I don't really cry when I read books. I cry when I watch movies or I listen to music, but books don't really trigger that response for me very often. But I was so surprised and taken aback by the ending of Blood Over Brighthaven that I did cry. Just a little bit. Maybe not cry, but like a tear coming down my face kind of cry. But yeah, I don't know. I used to cry when I read all the time, and I just don't anymore. The next question is a book that made you happy. And this is also going to go with the next question, which is most beautiful book you've bought so far this year. And the answer for both of those questions is The Ornithologist's Field Guide to Love by India Holton. This is a historical romance with a heavy magical element. I mean, a magical creature element. That's the most magic. And I would say this is definitely like historical romance first, a little bit of fantasy second. And it's about Beth and Devon, who are both ornithologists. And in this version of England, the birds are magical. And they are both professors at competing universities. One of them is at Oxford, and I think the other one is Cambridge in England? Or is that at a different one? Or is that the one in Massachusetts? Anyways, they're professors at different universities, and there is this competition for Birder of the Year, and whoever wins will get tenure. And so they're kind of rivals, but also have like clocked early on that they have a mutual attraction. And anyways, they go on this competition to capture this magical bird. This is fun and silly and a little whimsical, and just, I think India Holton has such a fun sense of humor and is like definitely like winking at the reader for a lot of this book. Like, she recognizes that these situations are ridiculous, and she knows that you recognize that these situations are ridiculous, but they're also such fun things to experience, such fun situations for these characters to be in. I love the romance in this. I loved the world. I love the characters. I loved how silly it was. It was just a great time. I'm really leaning into silly, campy books this year as much as I can. They're kind of hard to find sometimes, but this like fulfilled every single thing I wanted. I'm not a big fan of the Emily Wilde books, and this like gave me what I wanted from the Emily Wilde books. Oh, and it's also the most prettiest. I mean, come on, look at that. I also don't buy special editions anymore. Like, I used to have an Illumicrate subscription, and then I canceled it because money. And so now I just buy like regular Dagular books, and I don't know, none of them popped off as being like particularly gorgeous. So I definitely think that's the prettiest one. The next question is, what books do you want to read by the end of the year? And normally I'm like all of them. Is my normal answer. This year, I have some TBR veterans that I really would like to finally read and get off my unread shelf. So it's like The Mirror Empire by Cameron Hurley, which was a contender for a vlog a couple weeks ago, but I wasn't ready for a chunky book one in a fantasy series, especially when I've been doing such a poor job of reading sequels this year. I'm trying to be better, but it's a struggle. But I've had this since 2020. So I need to get on it. Same thing for The Poppy War by R.F. Kuang. I have had this on my shelf, I think, again, since, when did this one come out? I feel like it was before 2020. Yeah, 2018. So I think I bought this during 2020, and it's just been languishing on my shelf. I know I love R.F. Kuang's writing. I also know this is grimdark, and grimdark and me are not usually the bestest of friends, because like I said, I really love camp, and I really love a silly, goofy time. And this is not going to give me that silly, goofy time, but I need to read it. It's also, as I said previously, first book in a fantasy series that does get chunky. I've been putting it off, but I need to read it or unhaul it for like all three of these books. And then the last one that's kind of on this list is Sorrowland by River Solomon, which again, I've had for a really long time. And I know I really like River Solomon's writing. And I just need to read this because I won't let myself read Model Home until I've read Sorrowland. But this is about like a woman who escapes a cult and then gives birth to twins in the forest. And there's like fungus horror, and I don't know. The twin aspect has really been putting me off because I have twins of my own, and I feel like writers very rarely get it right on what it's like to actually have twins, especially twin infants. If I could get these three read before the end of the year, that would be super fantastic. I also, of course, want to complete my year of Butler and Gaskell reading challenge that I signed myself at the beginning of the year, because that would be great to like see that all the way through, because I feel like it's a fairly ambitious project. I like an ambitious project, apparently. That's not a surprise. We know I like an ambitious project. That is the last question, I believe. And I don't think I have any of my own that I want to add. So yeah, that's it. That's my mid-year book tag. But if there's any questions that you want to answer for yourself and you want to tell me about, down in the comments below, please leave them there. I would love to read them. If you just want to leave an emoji to let me know that you made it to the end of the video, let's do the exploding brain emoji. And otherwise, like if you liked it, subscribe if you want to, and I'll talk to y'all in the next one. Bye!